I, like you, am a member of We the People, and we know that our country is heading off the cliff. We the people can stop that decline, starting right here in South Carolina. If all the people who say, I love Ben Carson and his policies, but he can't win, vote for me, not only can we win, but we can turn this thing around.
Republican presidential candidate Dr. Ben Carson, during Saturday's debate in Greenville, South Carolina, calling for conservatives to stand with him and stop America's decline, even as his support has dropped somewhat, and there are calls around the country asking him to suspend his campaign. But the good doctor says he is in it for the long haul. Why is that so? Well, somebody who has a pretty good idea about that is joining us now to talk about it. It's the wife of the candidate, Candy Carson. Miss Candy, thank you so much for your time tonight on Newsmax Prime. And I know that the campaign trail can be brutal, but especially on a candidate's family and the candidate's spouse in particular. Why are you all putting yourselves through this?
Well, if someone asked us, if we were doing this for ourselves, and if we were doing it for ourselves, it would not be worth it. It's for our children, our grandchildren, and future generations. It's this fiscal cliff that we're about to go off is a real thing. This is the elephant that's in the room, only it's much bigger than any elephant. The $19 trillion debt that we have, to pay that off at a rate of $10 million every day. And 10 million is even hard to get your mind around. $10 million a day, 365 days a year, would take you 5,000 years. That's hard to comprehend. And we're putting this on the back of our children and grandchildren and their grandchildren. It's not fair to them. And Thomas Jefferson says it's morally wrong to steal from future generations. That's what we're doing. This generation now is the first generation in the history of our country that's going to be less well off than their parents. Is that fair? You've got to do something.
Ms. Candy, Dr. Ben wrote a letter to your supporters this weekend. He described the debate on Saturday night as, quote, ugly and vicious. Do you feel the same way about it?
Well, I agree with him on those things, but the thing of it is, it was really kind of immature, don't you think?
Well, there were a lot of interruptions. A lot of people, of course, some people say that's just mixing it up. But there.
Yeah. But the thing of it is, we have so many distractions. We have the reality shows. We have these mechanical gizmos. Everybody's got toys and so on and so forth. Even our phones can be distractions. And we've got all these things going on, but the real problems need to be discussed. That's what those debates are really supposed to be about. They're supposed to be about finding out the policies, the actual policies that each candidate would put out there to solve our problems. And we have a lot of problems. Between cybersecurity and foreign policy problems on. My husband has written 11 policy papers that are on our website to show that he really cares more about getting the job done as opposed to getting into office. It's much more important for us to start talking and thinking about what we're going to do to turn things around, because we don't have much longer.
Well, let me ask you again for the address of that website, because I know a lot of people would like to go in and read that. What is that web address, Ms. Candy?
It's bencarson.com.
Okay, that's a good one. Eponymously named, bencarson.com. Now, you talked about some of the distractions, the technological gizmos, as you put it, but also some of the conduct has led to distractions. For example, the frontrunner, Donald Trump, has been using some rather salty language at some of his rallies. Do you take exception to that kind of speech by Mr. Trump?
Well, our country was based on Judeo-Christian values, treating each other with respect and that sort of thing. And I'm not sure that that's in keeping with that. I would say that by their fruits you shall know them. If we're going to try to get our country back to what it was originally intended, we need to put someone in there who is more about we the people than about their egos or anything else.
Mr. Trump does seem to get to the center of controversies. At one juncture in the debate, he was criticizing Ted Cruz, saying that Senator Cruz lied about your husband quitting the race in Iowa. And then Ted pointed out that Donald Trump called your husband a pathological liar, even comparing him to a child molester. Has this thing totally crossed the line and careened out of control?
Yeah, the sad thing is, again, it's distractions. That's old news. We know what, by their fruits you know them. So you know what Ted Cruz's people are like. You know what Trump's people are like. I mean, the thing of it is, we've got. I'm sorry to say that there's really only one person that doesn't have political ties and political baggage and all of these behind the scenes deals with other politicians that could possibly solve our problems. We have so many problems. We don't have time for all this kind of nonsense. We've got to get down to the basics, getting rid of our debt, and then this fiscal gap that no one wants to talk about because politicians can't talk about it because they won't get reelected. But, when we have over 200 trillion is our fiscal gap between the things that we owe and the things and the amount of money we have coming in. We've got to do something about this. And my husband has over 3 decades of Fortune 500 board experience. So he's seen the kinds of things that go on in the boardrooms and what we can do to get fiscally responsible again. We've got to do this soon because, as we've been enjoying for years, I think it was since the late 1800s, the United States has had the privilege of having the world monetary currency based in the U.S. dollar. And that's the only reason why we can sustain the kind of debt that we have.
Pardon the interruption. As we're running out of time, I'm sorry to interrupt, but I just have to ask you this. You say you two are in it for the long haul. 10 seconds. Are you guys staying in this no matter what?
We're staying in this as long as the people are saying they want us. And, we're finding out all over the country that people do care, but the polls and these other things that they use to try to manipulate people into thinking that we're not doing well or this person isn't doing well. It's like they're trying to pick who's going to be the next president. But I think the people are smarter than that. I think they're going to pick the one that has the best chance of doing the best for this country.
And we will have to leave it there. Candy Carson, wife of Dr. Ben Carson, you have our thanks.